Hello, everybody, and welcome to the James Johnston Football Channel. This is the Arsenal Show, episode 2. Let's go. Yes, welcome back, people. And joining me this evening, I've got squad rotation, just like the club, and they're good as well. They're not, they're not bad players. They're great players. I'll go first. Ray, how are you, my friend?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me on, James. It's a pleasure to be on. I've actually followed the both of you for a while, so a little bit starstruck, if you wish, but it's all good. So,
thank you. There's no need.
But,
I'm just an ordinary man.
I know.
Trust
Just trying to embarrass you already, but it's all
no,
good.
Appreciate that.
Looking forward to it. It's a good discussion, and another 3 points in the bag. So let's have it.
Good man. And we've also got the man. He's got big arms and big opinions. It's Kenny. Kenny, how are you, my friend?
I'm all good. As I said, I'm just trying to get over finding out that the woman who died in childbirth in EastEnders is actually alive. So that's a bit. And also, obviously, I've known you for 10 years, James. So
I was just about to say this. I got a thing through on Facebook the other day on my memories, and it was the picture of the first time that we did the television show together.
Yeah.
And it was 10 years ago. I was like, that's mad. 10 years. How quick's that gone?
It's been 10 years. And nothing's changed with me. I still wear flashy eau de toilette. In fact, I've got a nice one you'd like. Remember last time you met me at the Man United game? I had my one on. I've got a better one next time.
Wow. Okay. I look forward to meeting you. This is what I want to see. But yeah, no, good man. So going into the game on Monday, it was a 1-0 win away at Selhurst Park. I personally thought it was a very, very good win. I like to see the defensive side of the game. I didn't know that we had that in us really under this manager yet, and I was impressed by it. But I'll go to you first, Kenny, because I believe you were there. What was the atmosphere like? Just firstly, before kickoff, were people confident? Were people, was the expectation of we're going to go here and do something, or was there still like jitters and nerves, obviously, because of the end of the Forest game?
I think what it is that the team sheet and is causing a lot of debate. I think the biggest elephant in the room was Kai Havertz. But I think if you look at the team sheet as well, a lot of people don't seem to, talk about how we're trying to fit Declan Rice in the team as well. And I think Declan Rice is kind of paper under the cracks because he's playing really well. His performance on Monday was absolutely brilliant. But, I think what we do lack a bit of consistency in a team like this because, we've got Partey at right back, where we all believe his best position is the number 6, where Declan's playing. And then we've got a situation with Havertz, who we're trying to incorporate. And we still got a missing link with the number 8. And then Ben White, for some players, fans, he divides opinion because of the fact that he wasn't at his best when he was in the centre-half position or in a back three, but he's played his best football at right back. And then one of the things that a lot of fans were, discussing was the fact that Gabriel was on the bench again. And I think when you looked at defensive partnerships, where a lot of our fans, had that kind of crystal ball and thinking, we can't wait to get Gabriel and Saliba together. And when we got them together, they were absolutely brilliant until we kind of ran out of ideas from February onwards. To see that getting broken up, that was a major talking point. And obviously the big elephant in the room as well was David Raya, because as much as a lot of people like Aaron Ramsdale, they're massive fans of Aaron Ramsdale and they think his dad's a great guy. The fact is, a manager has got a goalkeeper that he's been tracking for 3 years for the same reasons why Kieran Tierney can't get a game, because he's better on the ball. He's got his distribution, i.e. ability to start attacks from all over the pitch, puts him in high stead. It's as good as Ederson. It's as good as Alisson and Liverpool as well. So he's the third best. So you would have thought, with all those kind of attributes that our manager, demands in players, he would have started him. So that caused a lot of discussion, especially when we heard the team sheet when we got into the bowels of the stadium. But as soon as we got in there, Crystal Palace, at Selhurst Park is a brilliant, game in terms of it's very old fashioned. Their fans are absolutely mad. They're loud and proud, and it gets us going, because sometimes when you go to a ground and the away fans are really polite, it's like it's like Tottenham away gets you going. West Ham, the atmosphere is not the best there, but at Crystal Palace, it was cracking. Songs. We had a proper Saka song, not the one that we have to fit Smith Rowe into, but we had about 3-4 Saka songs. So it was a great atmosphere. But it's in saying what you said about you didn't realise how Arsenal defended. They weren't capable of that. I think under Mikel, one of the things that you have to give him, presence for is the fact that he is very organised when we're without the ball, and when we're down to 10 men, we're very hard to break down. I was very confident that when we went down to 10 men, Crystal Palace was so predictable that I thought that that they will be hard to break down. But there were good things. I thought we dominated it, but Eddie was a bit wasteful.
Yeah, no, I agree. And Ray, yourself, when you saw the lineup, obviously, like Kenny says, there's the elephant in the room there as well of potentially Gabriel being sold to Saudi Arabia. That heated up, that sort of dropped just before the lineup was announced, which got people going, well, hang on. Because there was always, over the weekend, there was these murmurs of that he won't play him. And when that got announced, what did you think?
Yeah, I thought it was a bit odd that he didn't start. He didn't start against Forest either, did he? So obviously Arteta had some sort of plan for why he didn't start him. I initially thought that in the Forest game, just to sort of go back a little bit, I thought we were just actually going to go a bit more direct, a bit more long, and we were going to look for players like Havertz, and rather than go and play out from the back each and every time, I thought we'd probably just try and get the ball as far up the pitch and try and sort of beat the Forest press that way, just to do something a bit different. But I didn't think we'd do the same for the Palace game. I thought we'd actually sort of go back to type a little bit. So to see the fact that Gabriel wasn't starting was quite a big shock in my opinion. Because I really rate Gabriel. I think he's been absolutely solid. I know he does have his moments, but I think on the whole, I think he's a brilliant defender. So yeah, it was a bit odd. We know that Arteta likes his balance. He likes right footers on the right side, left footers on the left side. It feels like we had a back four full of right-footed centre backs. But yeah, I think on the whole, I think it was good in terms of how the game ended up. In terms of how we had to defend. Obviously, it was back to the wall, and I'm sort of jumping the gun a little bit, so I'll try not to do that. But it was a very difficult evening in the end. And yeah, from a defensive point of view, clean sheet. We stood up against it. As Kenny said, the atmosphere there is absolutely rocking. It always is at Palace. I don't know what it is about it. They've got an okay Premier League team, but for some reason, especially night games there, it's just horrible. We've come unstuck there a few times. Many other top teams have come there and sort of fallen away countless times as well. So it's no easy place to go. So the fact that
teams have lost the league there, Ray.
Well, teams have lost the league there.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It is what it's notorious for being a very, very difficult place to play. So the fact that we were able to go there, I thought at times we started the game really well and we impacted our play. I think we'll talk about the chances that we had in a bit, but yeah, I mean, had we scored a few of those chances, certainly the Martinelli one earlier on, I think it just comes to him and he's sort of rabbit in the headlights a little bit. I think we win that game a lot more comfortable, and maybe the scoreline and possibly the performance is a lot more comfortable than it turned out to be.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you there as well, Ray. But I'll come to you first, Ray, and then I'll go to Kenny straight after. A lot of people said that with that lineup, they didn't believe that it was anything external to do with Gabriel, obviously with the link away or an injury. It's just that with Zinchenko not being fully fit and with Timber being out, he wanted Thomas Partey to do the invert. It was like it was flipped. So the inversion style of the game, which again, Kenny, I know that's a lot. We've had discussions on Instagram how we still like our tradition. I like a left back like Tierney that's a left back. I don't want to be doing all this, but that's the way the game's going, and that's the way that we've been successful really lately. So did you feel, Ray, that with the inversion of Thomas Partey on that right hand side, that it was more of a back three? Because like you said a minute ago, he does favour having a right footer and then the lefty next to him, but he did seem to go with it was like a back three, really. I don't know if you could count Saka and Martinelli as wing backs in that system, although just as well as they are going forward, they're brilliant at tracking back. I don't think they get enough credit, actually, Saka and Martinelli, for how well they do, retaining the ball when they do lose it. But what did you think, Ray?
Yeah, I mean, Thomas Partey at right back is a little bit strange. I think it works in certain games, but I don't personally like to see it all of the time. But I did think it worked in this game. I think that we needed to have an element of control. I think we were always going to score at least one. I know it came from the pen, but we were always going to at least get one. And it was just about controlling, taking the sting out of the game at times. And I believe that Thomas Partey in that position allows us to do that. It then allows us to bring Declan Rice into midfield, along with Havertz and Ødegaard as well. So, yeah, it's different. And I think it's going to take a little bit of getting used to. Like yourselves, I'm a bit traditionalist. I like players, specialists in their correct positions, square pegs for square holes, that kind of thing. But, it worked. And ultimately, I think he'd done a solid job there. As I mentioned, I don't know if I want to see it every game, but certainly tough away games like Palace away. Yeah, why not?
Yeah. And Kenny, what about yourself? Did you think it was just a system choice, or do you actually think there is something there with these rumours with Gabriel? Because if you look at the end of the game, the first player that Arteta went to was Gabriel. He gave him the big embrace, and he's third choice captain. Obviously with Ødegaard, Jesus is the vice, and then I think that is a huge character. And as much as Granit Xhaka again divided opinion last season, he was another big leader. To lose two big leaders in one window, I do think that's detrimental to the club in a position that we're already light in.
Yeah, I think Musavi, first and foremost, the reason why he went and hugged Gabriel, because Gabriel done him, was perfect for that sort of 10-man role. Because, in terms of like the players he brought on, that, if Crystal Palace like I said, try to play more direct, which they're capable of doing because they've got good dead ball specialists. The person you want in that middle, to win his headers, make his clearances, is Gabriel Magalhaes, and that's his job. He's a stopper. You know what I mean? A stopper. Like when you look at Saliba, he can be a stopper, but he's more a sort of player that will get you into, will give you a full sense of security, think that you're going to do him for pace, but he'll outpace you, or he'll keep you away at goal. He'll take you into the flanks, away from danger. Whilst Gabriel Magalhaes, he's right in you. He's, like he said, he's more than happy to mark you tightly because he believes that he's got the pace to get himself out of trouble. Plus, he'll win his headers and he'll make his tackles. And he's quite decent at the ball. So different kind of defenders. So one thing you want is you don't want those crosses coming in. And that's why you have Gabriel. The thing about it is that, yes, Thomas Partey is a fantastic footballer and he can play a right back situation, but I think you can't ignore the conundrum and why of his situation. A lot of people are talking about Havertz, trying to incorporate a midfield of Rice, Havertz, and Ødegaard, and that is true. But the thing is, we still got the conundrum of who's going to play in the number 8 role, because that is a style of play that Arteta has devised. So we've got a mess in number 8 because Kai Havertz didn't play that way against Nottingham Forest, and he certainly didn't play that way against Crystal Palace. He played closer to Ødegaard, and sometimes he alternated and was trying to be the last man. So in that respect, we bought a £105 million player, yet we were assuming that he'll play at number 8 role, but he's playing a role that he played for West Ham and excelled at. But the problem is that it imbalances the side. It really does imbalance the side, and people don't, want to blame and apply Havertz for that. But I think that Declan's already is unbalancing the side as well, because again, you're going to draw conclusions that if Zinchenko's fit and Timber's fit, does that mean Thomas Partey is on the bench? Because that's how it could go. Our best performing player, probably our best player in terms of experience and in terms of mastering his position. Yes, he did have a cooling off period in terms of like fitness and effectiveness. But when we were at our pomp, it was always Thomas Partey you're looking at. Now we have a situation where he's playing at right back, and initially we're thinking he's trying to incorporate his new players and bed them aside, and to a certain extent we're carrying at least one of them, but we're getting away with it because we play Nottingham Forest and Crystal Palace. What happens when we play Man City or we play a Man United that may turn up and have a worldie, which they're capable of doing, and then a Spurs and motivated Tottenham? Are we going to be playing that against them? And that's one of the things we have to look at, because last year we challenged the title, although I think we bottled it. We won our first 6 games. We need to get maximum points, because that gets you into a title challenge. That gives Man City, the heads up to think, you know what, this team's serious. We now got someone challenging us. If we start dropping points, Man City could get away from us. So this experimentation is all well and good. But remember, you're doing it against Crystal Palace, who are a very good side on their day, but they haven't got the quality of centre forward to give us, like I said, the problems that a Haaland would give us, or a Song would give us, or Salah, Nunez, Diaz, those kind of players. They're like your Jack and the trades kind of players. But against better teams, this is where Arteta's got to, earn his money. And then we've got to, we can't ignore the goalkeeping situation, because that's going to be a massive elephant, especially when you look at Mikel and you look at the attributes that are keeping Kieran Tierney out of the side. Yeah, it's not giving them Raya a starting berth. These are all aspects that we are going to get away with it. We are 100% going to get away with it, especially on Saturday. We'll probably, but against other teams, no, it's not going to work. He's got to have a settled side. He's got to make decisions, and he's got to stick to them. He's got to be ruthless, because you've got to remember, he has to deliver this season. With the players he got, the money he spent, we have to see an end product. He can't always be potential. He's going to get there eventually. We ain't got time for that.
Yeah, no, I don't. Again, I'll keep agreeing with everything you guys are saying. I know if people are watching thinking we're going to have a feisty debate tonight, I apologise, because everything that's coming out here is the gold as per usual. But touching just on the first half, I know a lot of fans were quite upset with how we played. We thought again that it was lucky, but for me, I thought we completely dominated that first half, and it's a criticism that is levelled at Eddie Nketiah, and it's the same that's levelled at Gabriel Jesus as well. Is that just for every good thing that they seem to do in terms of leading that line, dragging the players out, holding. I think Eddie, in terms of holding the ball up, is so much better at it than he has been the last 2 or 3 years. I think he's really excelled at that level of his game. It's that they're just both not clinical enough. And if you touch on it quick in the first half, Ray, obviously you mentioned it. You had that Martinelli chance in the first 5 minutes that he should have scored, which would have got Havertz an assist. I think that would have really helped him. I think that would have turned the tide of a lot of fans' opinion on Havertz. And then you've got the 2 Nketiah chances. For me, the first one that obviously hits the post, I think that one, okay, you can sort of give, but the second one where he attempts the lob, even his teammates, Rice, Havertz, etc., just looked at him as if to be like, why have you done that? Like all you got to do there is just pick a corner and tuck it. Why have you tried to dink him? And I thought after that as well, until obviously the penalty situation, no one really passed to him after that. It was like that they just couldn't trust. They just didn't feel like they could trust him after that moment. What did you think, Ray?
Yeah, I mean, I have to kind of agree with the point about the second chance. He should have buried that. That is a striker's bread and butter. I remember him scoring a goal similar to that. I believe it was against Oxford in the FA Cup. And I know it's a different level of opposition, but it was a very similar attempted finish I think he tried to do this time. So we know he's got it in his locker, and he can do it, Eddie. But in that instance, he's got to just lash it in by any means necessary. Yeah, good point with the Havertz thing. I think Havertz done okay. I don't think he was brilliant. I don't think he was amazing. I think he was just sort of off the ball. He just done everything that we needed. He put himself about, and yeah, if he got an assist, I think a lot of people's opinion might have changed quite drastically on him, really. But yeah, like I said earlier on, I think realistically, I think the Eddie chance hit the post I thought was very unlucky. But if I am being super critical, I think he has to bury that. I think he has to score. And as we mentioned, Martinelli, I think he needs to at least work the goalkeeper. I don't think he got it on target. But if we score 2-3, I think this game is a completely different game. And it is a lot more comfortable. It's a lot more better on the eyes, if you like, in terms of the scoreline. And I don't think we have to play the game that we were then forced to play. So, yeah, I think there's definitely potential. I think there's definitely a lot of. I think there's good players there, but we need these good players to become great players if we really want to, get to where we want to get to. So, at the moment, it's not like we're going to loan them out or anything. They're with us. They're part of our team. So this is what we've got. We have to run with it, and they need to learn on the job pretty quickly, in my opinion.
Yeah, and Kenny, what about yourself? What did you make of the Eddie chances, and then just Eddie's overall sort of game?
Well, to be honest, Eddie was pretty sharp in that first half. They did get tight with him, try to get tight with him, but he harried his defenders, which he loves doing, and that speed of turn was fantastic, and he did get in good positions. But sometimes it's like a tennis analogy, isn't it? The difference between a top 30 player and a top 10 player. A top 30 player in tennis, when he's about to serve for the match, a top 10 player sees it out when he's about to serve for the match. A top 30 player, when he plays a top player, crumbles. And I think that's the thing with Eddie, is that there's going to be a lot of inconsistencies with Eddie. Like one time he's going to have a worldie, and then he's going to go back to type. He's not what I call an Arsenal type player, but he's more than happy to be a number two. Those chances, his first one, yeah, I think he slipped. We can see from where we are, he slipped. The second one was just, I don't know, it was a bit of nonchalance, but really and truly, I know it's only game 2, but sometimes one of the things with football's like hindsight 2020. You say you have there's we're neck and neck with City, and then they scored like goal difference of 45, and we got an inferior goal difference. We can look at those two chances. I think, Eddie, mate, if only you put one of them away, we could have won the league by goal difference, and that's what you need at a club like Arsenal. And they'd be ruthless, cold-eyed, because having a good game and not scoring is great. But when you're at Arsenal, you have to be ruthless in terms of your finishing and your all-round game. When you get the opposition on the throat, especially when you got your studs on there, keep them on the throat. It could have gone either way. Crystal Palace could have got more in the game. They could have got a decision going their way, and who knows? We could either got a draw. We might have lost that. So he has to be more careful. But as we look at Eddie, is Eddie a top class striker? Is he the striker that we really want? Not really, no. But it's a case of Arsenal having to sell players in order to get us that player. There's a player that's having enforced rest somewhere in the London Borough of Hounslow that maybe we could look at, because he's got all the attributes we need to score goals at the highest level, and he's a potential England international. So maybe if we offload some players, we may be able to look at him. And then we've got Jesus who's come back from injury as well, and he's in training, so he could be, and play a bit part on Saturday. But Jason Eddy, are they going to score the goals to win us the league? There's always that conundrum or that question, isn't it, with those two?
And you're going up against a machine of a player as well as a team who, of those two chances, if it's who's got the long hair like me, but he's he's a lot bigger and stronger and a better footballer than I am. He scores, if not both of those chances, doesn't he? He tucks both of them away.
And that's the difference between us, being an early men winning the league and then winning the treble. Football's about coincidences. As soon as he got to Man City, they won the Champions League, and they cemented their league. But he was bought for the Champions League, and he, Haaland delivered that gold-plated trophy for them.
Yeah. What I would say is that there aren't many players like Erling Haaland at this moment in time, though. So, although I'd absolutely love a player like him or Haaland himself, why not? There just ain't the players out there. So it's unfortunate that we're in the time that we're in. But Eddie's come in, he's doing a job, and he's doing okay. As we mentioned, all right, he needs to probably raise his levels to be at a club like Arsenal. But unfortunately, that's just how I see it. I just don't see like abundance of world-class strikers out there.
We got spoiled with the 90s. Ray, we got spoiled with the 90s, innit? When we had players like Collymore, Fowler, Schindler.
Yeah, we had them in abundance, even in the 2000s, Ken. It was,
even Teddy as well. So we had the 90s. We were very sport, but we do have, Ivan Toney has proved in his first 2 seasons in the Premiership with Brentford that he can go to that next level.
Yeah, and I think he could. I agree with you in that respect.
A bigger club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think that is Ivan Toney that level of player? Is he Haaland? That's basically.
Haaland and Mbappe are the equivalent of Messi and Ronaldo, although they're a bit inferior. But in terms of like their ability to score goals and goal scoring records for younger players, they're not really on the level of everyone else. They've got their own kind of competition amongst themselves, and then there's just the rest, just like it was with.
But
Messi
you know how like back in the day we had like R9 Ronaldo and we had Henry, but then below that you had gunmen like Batistuta, and you had all these like just quality strikers that can absolutely do a job.
Managers like Pep and Arteta that probably killed the centre forward, because it's all about the all-round game. Aguero was a fantastic striker, but you always felt that with the demands of Prep in terms of like being able to run when you don't even have the ball, that kind of made players like extinct, and I think that's the problem with it. We're going to have a situation where we were sport for choice for number 9s back in the 90s, and obviously in the 80s and 70s when I was growing up, 80s, 70s. But right now, with managers now looking for an all-round game, being able to be the first man in defence, also be able to run the channels, do everything but score. We're going to players like Harry Kane, Ivan Toney are going to be few and far between.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. I think you make great points again. And with Ivan Toney, obviously did the podcast Diary of a CEO this week, didn't he? And he mentioned us as somewhere there where he would like to come. And yeah, I think if you are an Arsenal fan and the opportunity did present itself to sign Ivan Toney, I think it's a great option, not only just because of what he can add, but I also think you've got the goalkeeper that, like you said earlier, Kenny, he used to ping him long. If you need a goalkeeper that knows how to find Ivan Toney, well, we've got 2, but we've got the one that worked with him that did so well. You got to remember, they scalped some of the big teams. They beat United by 4 at home last season. I think they beat City away, didn't they? So they know how to do it. If you get the system correct with the right personnel,
they're playing good football without Ivan.
Exactly.
The system, it might come as stuck, but I think with Ivan Toney, I think you just look at it. You look at the fact that with even when he was full serve his early holiday, he scored 20 league goals, which is
Exactly.
very unique nowadays. We used to take it for granted back in the 90s, and with players like Kane, but it is a rarity nowadays. With English players who can just put the ball in the back of the net on a regular basis.
Yeah. What I will say about Eddie, for me, I do, like you said, I think he had a good game and he worked hard. But when you play as a centre forward, you are always going to be judged on your goals. But I also think if you look at the numbers, he's played 2 games, he's got a goal in one and an assist in the other. So yes, he should have had more, but I don't believe that he's completely wasteful. It's like I've said earlier, I just don't think he's clinical enough. But touching on the goal, obviously, it's a very clever free kick from Gabriel Martinelli into him. He drags the keeper out. Ray, I'll go to you first. What did you think when Odegaard picked the ball up? Because I know a lot of people, I was getting messages through on WhatsApp going, well, Saka's the penalty taker. But I know Saka did miss one in pre-season, and then he obviously missed one at West Ham. So
Yeah.
Mikel said he was shocked, but it was a captain's call, and I quite like that. Instead of, we've seen it in the past where teams have kicked off when the captain call's been made, but I did like that Saka was like, no, okay, you go ahead. And yeah, I thought it was a brilliant penalty from Odegaard. What about yourself?
Yeah, agree with that. Really, I think it's so clinical, and I like the fact as well that we've got multiple players on the pitch that can take a good penalty. I don't like the fact that teams have one designated penalty taker, because I just think it gives the goalkeeper another advantage because they can study that player thoroughly, and then when they go up to take a penalty, it gives more to the goalkeeper's favour. Whereas if you have 4 or 5 quality penalty takers in your squad, which I believe we've got now, then I think it reduces that risk of the goalkeeper saving it or going the right way quite drastically. As for the penalty itself, it was cold, it was clinical. It's absolutely what you want to see. Sort of just been slating Eddie a little bit, but it was terrific work to win it in the first place. It was definitely a foul, definitely a penalty. And you want to see your captain, take a bit of responsibility, take the ball, say, let me do it, get his first goal of the season. He's off and running. And yeah, all in all, quality penalty, and got us going.
And Kenny, yourself?
Yeah, it was a great move. From Eddie. Very sharp. I thought Sam Johnson, if he looks at it again, he'd be thinking, "Oh God, I've been a right pork chop there." Because you think about it, Eddie was going nowhere, wasn't it? But he just went for panicked. Didn't think that realised that a Palace defender was right behind him, so he didn't need to make that challenge. But in terms of penalty, nothing surprises me now, isn't it? I mean, we used to have a situation on Henri Perez. Whoever got fouled didn't take the penalty. You remember? Let's not, at least Odegaard and Saka didn't do the Perez and Henri penalty of Man City in 2005.
Yeah, I know he likes an assist, Odegaard, but I would have gone mental. I'd have been like, just lash this, mate. Yeah.
Remember when Perez's foot went numb?
Yeah.
No, but I think what it is, Ray's right. You should have different penalty takers, because obviously goalkeepers do their homework and everyone nowadays. Like the water bottle with the paper in it, that sort of thing. But I think in terms of Saka, I was surprised he was a penalty taker in the first place, and that had nothing to do with me missing the penalty against Italy. I didn't realise he had that in his locker. But he's calm. But when you miss a penalty, someone asks for your opportunity, isn't it? I think Odegaard's gone all David Beckham on me. You know what I mean? Remember David Beckham? We never knew he wanted to take penalties, but as soon as he became England captain, he wanted it all. He wanted the free kicks, the penalties.
Yeah.
Maybe Martin's doing this, maybe going all David Beckham on us.
I wouldn't complain. I know Beckham divided opinion as well, but I was a huge fan of him, just as a footballer, not just as brand. But I was a fan of him. I was a fan of him.
He's from your part of the world, though, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. We are biased down here. Yeah, I agree. But touching again on the second half, obviously, there's the incident there with Tomiyasu. I'll go to you. I'll go to you first, Ray. But I think the first booking, as much as we've praised Havertz, and I'll touch a bit more on him later on as well. Havertz drops him in it by holding that ball for the initial as long, and as soon as Tomiyasu gets it, he really does have to. You just have to throw it straight away, because you've seen the ref take note of how long Havertz has took. I think he should have read the situation a bit better, as if to just be like, just get that out of my hands type thing. And but then the second one, I don't think he touches him at all for me. I can't believe that's been given. And you've got the other silly rule now that, well, it's always been the rule, hasn't it, that you can't appeal 2 yellows. You can appeal a red, but you can't appeal the 2 yellows, which is just absolutely ridiculous in my opinion. What did you make, Ray? Especially again as well, when Ayew, in the build up to the foul that won us the penalty, he's already been booked as well, yet he does push him over again, and he didn't get booked for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's one of those that, as an away team, doesn't often go in your favour. I don't care what team you are. Playing away, these decisions, these like sort of 50-50 off the cuff, was it, wasn't it? They always seem to go in the home team's favour. Obviously, it goes for us sometimes, but in this case, it went against us. I agree that I thought the sending off of Tomiyasu was incredibly harsh. I don't know if I can swear on your channel, James, but I won't.
I'm not monetized, so far away.
So there's a lot of shithousery, wasn't there, really, in that throw with Havertz. He picks the ball up and then he sort of goes for it, then he doesn't, and then he drops it, and I think he took about 20 seconds or something to do it. And then obviously Tomiyasu is just kind of guilty. I think he gets the throw away pretty quickly, in fairness, but just how long we took as a team, because he was the last man, is unfortunate, and he gets booked. So it'd be interesting to see going forward whether this is a thing, because there are going to be players that won't even want to touch the ball because there's a chance they might get a yellow for so-called time wasting. As you mentioned, the foul on Andre Ayew, I think it's a foul, but there are fouls that are fouls, and then there are fouls that are yellow cards or red cards, and I don't think it was. As you mentioned, Ayew committed a foul very cynically, I believe, on Saka off the top of my head, when he was already been booked in the first half. Again, I believe that's just a home decision. You get that sometimes as the home team, and unfortunately, we had a plan. I didn't think Tomiyasu was amazing or anything, but I thought he was just okay. 6, 7 out of 10 out of them up to that point. So it's disappointing that happened. I agree as well. The rule about this yellow cards, that you can't appeal, or VAR can't get involved because it's a yellow and not a straight red, even though it's the same result, I think is really, really stupid. And yeah, with Tomiyasu, I don't know how long he's going to be out for now. Is it a couple of games potentially, lads? Do you know?
I think it's just it's not it wasn't a violent conduct, so it's not the 3 games. It's just
be the one. Yeah, it's just be Fulham.
Just the one, is it? Yeah, so we're going to miss him for that game, unfortunately. But I think we've got enough to cope, and we have to move on. Looking at it from a more positive point of view, I think we showed our defensive mettle. Palace did stick it on us, and it was uncomfortable watching. I don't know how it was in the ground, Ken, to be there and actually sit through it live, but on TV it was it was very, very hard to watch. But I think if you watch it back, knowing the result, we actually didn't really give them anything. It's a bit like boxing Floyd Mayweather. You can stand there trying to punch him in the face, but for whatever reason, you just can't touch him. And I feel like that's how we were with 10 men at times during that second half.
Yeah, what about yourself, Kenny?
Well, I think that if you look at the context of the game, it was an accident waiting to happen, because we went to go up. We had the referee points to the spot, but for some reason he wanted to check to see if there was a dive. So that took about a couple of minutes. The Crystal Palace fans are now giving the indication that maybe it wasn't a penalty, so they're going absolutely bananas. So because they're going bananas and thinking every decision is going against them, that was all the referee for me was looking for for a way to to make a decision, and Tomiyasu fell right into his hands. Especially if this was 0-0 or we were losing, Tomiyasu don't get. The referee might have used his discretion and said, right, this is a London derby. Crystal Palace have put their foot in, or it's competitive, it's a very robust game, but they go a goal down. They're already feeling, that it's an injustice that that we've we've got a penalty. So referees play to the gallery, and it was just he was just waiting to give that second yellow card. But let's face it, it was a stupid thing to do. The first one was schoolboy, innit? Schoolboy. We all know the rules about time wasting. We all know that if you look at the international tournaments, you even look at the Premiership, they are like I said, cracking the whip with time wasting. They are going to add more time on, and they're going to book players, and they've already had discussions with the managers and with the players, so the players know this. The second one, again, it was the referee was 100% going to blow for that. 100% he was going to blow for that. I thought, right, boom, he's off here, man. No, there's no question about it. There's going to be no like getting him to change his mind. They're a goal down. They think that our penalty was soft. They're going to get every decision, but the Arsenal fans are going absolutely berserk because they'll shouting for everything. I mean everything afterwards. Afterwards, they're calling the referee this, they're calling him that. It wasn't just Ty who thought the referee was horrendous. There was people next to me that were calling the referee all sorts. They, when IU went in that red bloody challenge, they were going mad. And then the two instances with Eze, the penalties, where the first half, he did his dying swan act, nothing, and then the second half, another dying swan act. And a lot of people around me were saying, "Get your card out. That's two bookings. He should be off as well." So it all adds to the theatre. It's a London derby as well. Crystal Palace are one of those kind of enigma teams where basically they're what I call on their day they can do something, and that's what Crystal Palace are like. I've been at Selhurst Park when we've had a hammerings. I was there when it was a 3-0 when Bellerin went and got the ball to take a throw in. Big mistake. And then
that was another one. He would have thrown that straight away. Wish he would have thrown that straight away.
Alexis Sanchez would have come over and give us a bit of a wave. Big mistake. And then, the game that probably cost us the top four, again, I was there. So Crystal Palace have been, giving me a few, black eyes and bloody noses. So I like it. That's why I like that game, because I know we were going to get a hammering, or we're going to give them a hammering, or it's going to be like a battle, an arm wrestle. That's what I call arm wrestle football. That was what we got on, on Monday. It wasn't pretty, but it was effective.
Yeah, and like we said earlier, despite playing that 30 minutes with 10 men, I think someone made a comment about it earlier. Apologies, I can't remember who it was that said it. I think it was Mike who's in the chat. He said about the control, and I think the substitutions that we made really helped that. I think Zinchenko, Jorginho, and then even Kivior. There was that little spell, wasn't there, where they passing along with Declan Rice near the end, and they were going towards the goal, but then just
Jorginho. That's what we bought before, isn't it?
Yes,
we bought Jorginho because one of the things with Jorginho, one of his strengths at Chelsea was he's very excellent at keeping possession and keeping it ticking over. He does that a lot for Italy when he plays, in their national team as well. So that was. I have to admit, put my hands up. That was a good substitution. Kivior's just a defender. He's going to clear his lines just like Gabriel. So we're always going to be difficult to beat. In a perverse way, I thought that if we were down to 11 men, Crystal Palace probably would have had a better chance because we would have been more ambitious in terms of trying to get the second and the third, or a possible third, and we would have left spaces. But when we knew we were down to 10 men, we kind of knew that Crystal Palace were going to, throw the kitchen sink at us. So we had to do it two ways. We had to first keep the ball, which we did with Jorginho's substitution. Then if they got, down the bylines with, Tarek Mitchell got down the bylines in the, in the second half, where on the overlap, we had to make sure we won every header. and that Ramsdale came for every ball, and that we're always going to be like difficult to beat. One thing about Mikel, it's no fun playing against Arsenal when they're down at 10 men and they're a goal up. Forget it. You're not going to beat us. You're just not going to do it.
Yeah, no, great point. And just quick as well, we'll touch on a few players here. I thought we'll start with Kai Havertz. Havertz, for me, he stayed on. He did stay on. A lot of people were saying on Twitter at the time and in WhatsApp groups that I'm in that they thought he was going to come off. But he stayed on as an option, I think, just to hit the ball long too. Like you said, Kenny, just to recycle the ball for as long as we can. And he won all of his duels on the day. And I think some of his movement did create gaps for Odegaard and Martinelli at times. But for me, and hopefully I can pull this up here just quick. This is, if you can see this is his heat map. I'm going a bit. I haven't got all the utensils like Neville and Carragher, so I apologise. But if you look here, the attacking box where the arrow's pointing, if you look, there's such little of in the box there. There's only small little dashes. There's primarily, obviously, that left-hand space, which is wide, and then the left-hand space going into the cam roll. But for me, this guy's 6'4", and he's a £65 million player. And unfortunately, you are going to be judged on your output for goals and assists. And yes, he should have had one that he set up for Martinelli. Martinelli did thrash at it. However, as a 6'4" man, I think you've got to make yourself more of a nuisance, Kenny, against these sides. And Ray, I don't think I don't know if it's he's not confident enough because of what happened at Chelsea, or he's still getting used to his teammates, or his teammates are getting used to him. But I think he's good enough. Get in there. You know, something might happen. It might bobble off of somebody and you can react quick. I just don't think he gets in there enough for me, Kenny.
Yeah, but you think about it, what position we earmarked for him. The thing is that we've a lot of people are talking about Havertz as, you know, this great player by Leverkusen. Obviously, you know, they're doing a 2020 hindsight, because I don't remember when he was available. Many Arsenal fans were talking about him in glowing terms. They said, let's get him. And, you know, even Chelsea fans are surprised when they spent about 70 odd million on him. But if you talk about reports in Germany, he is seen as the next Mesut Ozil, the sort of generational talent. And it's funny that you showed that heat map and you talked about the things he does off the ball. And, you know, he gets in the good little positions, and he set up that chance for Martinelli. And I thought, oh my God, we've got another Mesut here. You know what I mean? Someone who defies opinion. You know, I was waiting for you to say, you know, if you can't see what Ozil does, then you don't know football. I was just waiting for you to do that.
No.
I was about to say
Germany, you know what I mean? In Germany, that's how Havertz was seen, very much Mesut-esque, where he is seen as a generational player. He's got fantastic footballing ability. If you think the best technical players we have at the football club, ironically, as Havertz in Devine's opinion, and Pepe, who can't get a game, because although he's more technically gifted than Bukayo Saka, Saka's game's on a level that, you know, I don't think few of us predicted even 2 seasons ago, and even last season. He's getting better and better and better, to the extent that he's now taking that form to the national side. So he can't get a game there. But when you talk about naturally gifted footballers, Havertz and Pepe fit that description. But the thing with Havertz is that a lot of us are looking at, you know, he had okay performances in Euro 2020 for, you know, for Germany, and obviously that winning goal in Porto against Man City. I think he hasn't been able to live up to that. But I think we're buying Kai on the basis of him being what a lot of people in Germany describe as a generational talent, and having that natural footballing ability, which Mesut Ozil had, unique, that you just can't be taught. But the problem is, it's about tolerance. We're going to have to live with the fact that we're not going to see consistent performances from Kai Havertz. And the problem we have is that, are they going to be enough for us to, you know, tolerate his presence in the team, justify his tag? And is it actually going to get us challenging for the league, and trying to break that Champions League duck? Because that's when you pay £65 million for a player like Kai Havertz, it's to have some sort of reward, i.e. someone who can win us some trophies season after season, do well in the Champions League, preferably win it, and win the league. But I just see a player who just looks languid, but that's the way he is. You have to look at the Nottingham Forest game. There was a time when he got a hospital pass and he just went, I set a game of rocket. He gave him a rocket. He had it because, he gave him a rocket. He said, no. And I thought, I like that. But the thing is with Mikel is that he's going to have to wear that. And with Mikel, he's just like Pep. You don't run in his teams, it don't look good for you.
Yeah. Now, Ray, what about yourself? What did you? Obviously, it's a small sample size in terms of the league, but what do you think about Havertz? Do you agree with my sort of takes on him not making himself? Obviously, he is in that left 8 role, but he's got the pace. I don't understand. Sometimes I think, why does he not run into that space or into that channel? And because we got players that can cross. We got players that can cross a ball. Saka can cross a ball. Ben White can cross a ball. I just don't see enough from him at the moment, hunger-wise, to get more numbers for him.
Yeah, I do agree in some respects. I mean, when you showed that heat map, I was actually delighted to see that, because when we signed Havertz, that's the exact position I want to see Kai Havertz play for Arsenal. I don't want him up front every game like he was at Chelsea, because he's proven he can't play that role. There's a player there, 100%, but we need to try and figure out the best position for him, because when we signed him, my biggest question mark is I don't know where he excels. But I think playing at Leverkusen, I know Kenny mentioned about, we think we're buying this generational talent. That's where he was excelling, playing in that 8-10 role behind the striker, a striker that can hold the ball, bring it into play, and then Havertz can make those runs sort of in beyond him. And I think Jesus will work really well when he finally comes back as well. Hopefully we can keep him fit and healthy for a majority of the season. I think Havertz done very well in terms of his duels. I think you mentioned, he won all of his all of his aerial duels.
Yeah, I think he was 8 from 8, I believe.
8 from 8. Yeah, so he's doing that side, but it's a team game, mate. So when he's doing that, then we need players around him to then go and get the seconds, to get up the bits and pieces. Declan Rice was incredible in this game, I thought, but he still needs to be better. And what I mean by this is that he needs to learn Havertz's game. And I think we sort of bought Declan Rice with Havertz in mind, so that when Havertz does vacate the space and is sort of all over the place, then Declan Rice is sort of controlling that area. And that might be another reason why we are almost playing 4 right-footed centre-backs and Thomas Partey in the back line, because then that allows us to have more control at the back. So therefore, you can allow a player like Havertz to get on the ball, make things happen. And with his movement, yeah, he might not be the most physically strong player. Obviously, he is 6'4". He's going to put himself about. But I just think that we need to learn how to not cover up his deficiencies. But do you know what I mean? Like, learn to play with a player like this. Myself included, a lot of Arsenal fans have been crying out for a quote-unquote Plan B player, Plan B striker. A big guy that you can stick up front at times. And I think he can do that a little bit as well. As I mentioned, I don't want to see it all the time, because he'd done that at Chelsea and it just wasn't for him. But in certain games, he can do it. And I think he showed that in the Man City game. I know it's only one game. It was only a friendly or whatever, but I thought he played really well at Wembley. And yeah, if that's a bit of a taster, why not? I think Havertz had a good game, and I'm excited to see what Arteta and his coaching staff managed to get out of him.
Yeah, No, fair points as always. It's a really good one tonight with you both. I'm enjoying it. But just quickly, if you had to pick a man of the match for the game, Ray, I've got mine, so I'll put mine up last. I'll go to Kenny after yourself. But who for you was your man of the match, Ray? And then chat room as well. Get involved. Who was your man of the match for this one?
If I had to pick one player, I would go Declan Rice. I thought he was brilliant, especially when we went down to 10 men. I thought he really sort of reverted to the West Ham Declan Rice, and he really sort of locked it down for us, gave us that element of control. I know, as you guys mentioned, we brought on players like Zinchenko and like Jorginho, Kivior as well, I believe, and I think there was a stat that all of the subs completed 100% of their passes as well. So it just shows the level of control. Even in the first half, I thought he was getting on the ball. He was making things happen. It looked like he was sort of taking turns with our midfield players to sort of make those number 80 runs, if that makes sense, into the box or in and around the box. And yeah, I really liked the interview he gave after the game, saying that, he was up for it. Because although, these players are paid thousands of pounds a week, they are human, and maybe playing at Selhurst Park on a Monday night isn't the most glamorous. But that's when you need players like Rice, who have played in the league for however many years, to stand up and say, yeah, let's have it. I want to do this. So yeah, for me, sorry, I'm rambling a little bit, but for me, it's Declan Rice.
Yeah, and Kenny, what about yourself?
Oh, definitely Declan. But Declan Rice, 100%. He had a fantastic game. Like, his reading of the game was fantastic. He smelt danger, and he's got a pair of jet skis on him, hasn't he? He's a lot quicker than I thought he was. I always knew he was a good runner, but he's definitely a good player. But again, I say that the team does look unbalanced. It does look experimental, but in order to soften the blow of of what I call a lopsided lineup, he's playing well. He's playing fantastically well. But we want a situation where Declan, despite playing well, is the solution, not a problem. Because it's easy to look at big Kai Havertz and say, oh, yeah, he's disrupted the team. But, the fact is that we still don't know who is going to play in that number 8 role, and we don't know how we're going to play that number 8 role, because we found something that that was made us more productive and enabled us to release our attackers into potent areas with that number 8 role. That is still a way we can hurt teams. Yes, teams may work it out, but if you play it really well and you play the game at pace, real pace, you can hurt teams. So it is a conundrum. As I said before, it's working for now, but against better teams, it has to evolve, because we have to find a way to win our matches, and get those maximum points we need to give City a little nudge to say we're back, not back winning things, but back challenging you.
Yeah, and for me, I do my little graphics. I know we're only one show in, but I do my little graphic for my man of the match. I picked this man. I picked Thomas Partey. He won 100% of his ground duels, won 100% of his aerial duels, made 100% of all of his take-ons, made all of his tackles. I was very impressed with him, albeit in a very different role, and a role that he's not used to. And when you watched him at the end, and he was absolutely, I was panicking for this man's hamstrings, I will admit. I know we talked about the shift Eddie put in. Thomas Partey, for me, put such a shift in. And I was, as much as I thought Declan Rice and Saliba. Yeah. I still, as much as I love Declan Rice, in terms of who do I think's the best 6 at the club, it's still him. And it's gonna take a big shift for that to change, in my opinion. But just going into the Fulham game, and Kenny, you raised a question a minute ago, and hopefully this can flash up for everybody else as well. Here's the suggested lineup that I have picked, sorry, come back up here for the weekend, and I've reverted back to type. So with Zinchenko being back fit now, I've put him at the left back role. I've still got Ramsdale in goal. I've gone with White and Saliba and bringing Gabriel back in. I've put Partey there. And then the front four, we all know what that's going to be. It's very rare that people are changing that. And I know that he might shoehorn the £65 million man in Havertz. I believe, I was on a podcast earlier with another James Cookie, and he said to me, do you think that he's going to play Partey as a proper conventional right back in a four, and then do Saliba and White to accommodate Havertz going in and Gabriel still doesn't play? And when he said that to me, I went, do you know what? Now you've put that seed in my head. That's what I think Arteta's going to do.
I can see it happen as well. Because he's won his first 2 games. You know, he experimented last season with Thomas at right back, and he kind of trusts Thomas into thinking that. Well, the thing with Thomas is, first and foremost, he's not just one of the best midfielders in the country. If not, I think probably the best number 6 in the country. He's also a fantastic footballer, an intelligent footballer who understands, you know, space and how to neutralise space as well. Plus, he's very, very good on the ball. So I suppose it was an open goal for him to try and accommodate with the side. But I always say, when players get dropped from that back line, there's always a constant in there, no matter whether it's winter, autumn or summer, whether it's snow, raining or summer, Benjamin White gets a game. He rates that guy so highly. I don't know, sometimes in the back of my evil, conniving mind, is Benjamin White the one that he's accommodating just as much as he's trying to accommodate Declan and Kai? I have my suspicions, because Gabriel and Saliba is a centre-half partnership that we've been really, really excited about. Really excited about. Both are now fit, yet one the best performing centre-half overall can't get a game. Because we look at Saliba and we think, we look at the glamour of his, you know, his performances, like the song, the fact that he's got extreme pace, strong, gets players away from the danger area. But Gabriel consistently, after he had a bit of a, you know, Lauren Hardy moment against Fulham, after that he was consistent with his performances, and probably over the length of the season, probably a little bit better than Saliba. So it's strange, but again, it's the manager trying to accommodate his new players into the team. Because at the end of the day, he has the right to do that if he spent about nearly £200 million on those players. But at the end of the day, it could come up. It has to work, and it has to work quickly, or it'll bite us up the arse. Because, you know, we're in a season now where we need to see some fruit from his labour. We have to win a trophy this season. We have to win something. It's not conditional. It's compulsory.
Yeah, I like it. No, I agree with it as well. But what about you, Ray? Let's just say, I know a lot of people don't like the what if game, but let's just say, you know, Mikel gets on the old WhatsApp and he says, Ray, Stuyvenberg's doing my head in with the lineup. Help me out. What would you do? Would you go back to the conventional 4 at the back and everything else? And what would you do, mate?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if that scenario actually played out, mate, I'd probably just freeze. But if we're actually saying it as it is, yeah, I probably would. I'd go 4-3-3. I think you put Eddie up there, and again, other than scoring, I think, yeah, I can't fault it. I would like to see Trossard get a go. I think he was brilliant in pre-season. He's got fantastic technical quality. He can do a bit of everything on the ground. And yeah, I'd like to see him maybe given a chance. In terms of Gabriel, yeah, I think we all want to see the Gabriel Saliba partnership at the centre back. So yeah, why not get him back in? But like you guys, I don't know if he's going to do it. I think he's going to kind of keep it as it is. I thought Saliba played really well the other night against Palace, although he did have that that moment, didn't he? He recovered phenomenally. It's a hell of a challenge. He does so well to recover. We're used to Arsenal defenders making a mistake and getting, punished, whereas, it doesn't often happen with Saliba. But just the initial rashness that led to that chance in the first place, he needs to really sort of cut out of his game. So, yeah, I think him and Gabriel, fantastic partnership. One left foot, one right foot, 6'3", 6'4", absolute monsters, powerhouses. I think we need a bit of that. I don't know how Fulham are going to line up. I imagine they'll have Raul Jimenez up front because they don't have Mitrovic anymore, do they? So I think if we can almost bully him out the game with players like that at the back, then I think we've got a fantastic chance of not only just winning but keeping the clean sheet as well.
Yeah, and just before we go into the listeners' questions, if you were to make a prediction for the game, I'll go to you first, Kenny. If I can have your prediction for the game and your first scorer, please, mate.
It's going to be 3-0, and I think our first scorer is going to be the Starboy. Starboy, he's just as I said before, he just astounds me. He gets better and better and better. We all want him to have a rest, but it hasn't changed at Arsenal. Give the ball to Saka and he'll win you the game. There is no way this guy's getting rotated, mate. He's a star boy, mate. We just need him to score 20 goals this season, do it at international level. We're talking we don't play too well because I think Real Madrid and the other clubs that probably consider themselves bigger than us might start sniffing around him. But yeah, we want him to do well. But hopefully he's got a trophy at the end of the season.
Yeah. And what about yourself, Ray?
It could be anything, honestly. I'm not good with predictions, so I'll go 2-0 Arsenal. And I will say Martinelli will score the first goal.
Yeah, nice. So I did my prediction earlier, but I'll do it again here. I said 3-0 as well, Kenny. And I went with Odegaard to score again for the first. I'll get the first goal for us. But yeah, we'll quickly.
Do you know what's refreshing?
Oh, go on.
Sorry, James. Do you know what's refreshing though, lads? Is that think about it. 2 or 3 years ago, we would have said Aubameyang, 3-1, Aubameyang scoring first. Whereas now we've all generally got different options, and we can all back up or give good reasons for why we think those options. Like I say, I'm useless with score predictions, but in terms of scorers, what Kenny said about Saka, what you said as well, James. It's just I can't really sort of disagree with any of it. So I just think it's a really promising place for where we have been. Obviously, we know that we're not at the end of the road. We know that there's bigger prizes. We've tasted it. We've lifted the big trophies before, and we want to get there again. So the fact that we can just reel off players to score and whatever and have these scorelines, yeah, mate, I think we're in a really good position currently.
Just got one more thing to say about Aubameyang. Aubameyang what? Aubameyang who? Nah. You thought I was going to say that. No. Got you there.
No, but let's go to the questions quick. Neil has a question. He says, can we clone a younger Henri with all the seniors in XP?
I think we can. I think his name's Kylian Mbappe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Neil has another question. I don't think it's to any of us here. He says, does the water panel believe there is an agenda against us? And I've got the water here. I'll do that so it's not an advert. I'm going to go like that. The water's saying no.
There's no agenda against Arsenal. We have this sort. I think the thing about it is that we're very how do I say it? We're very love our club so much, but I just take a pinch of salt. I couldn't care less what Richard Key says about Arsenal, whether commentators praise us or not. I'm in the results business. If Richard Key's, talking about us over celebrating, it ain't going to change the fact that we won a football match. He can say what he likes. We need to be more thick-skinned at the Arsenal. At the end of the day, we're the ones who are going to get enjoyment out of if we start winning our trophies that we used to do previously. We should just forget about what these pundits say about us, forget about what these presenters say about us. It's not going to change nothing. We've got to stop this persecution process with Talk Sport. You know what I mean? Talk Sport hates Arsenal. You know, Brian Moore hates Arsenal. Well, he's not with us anymore, but Andy
God rest his
Gray,
soul. Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's one of those things where, you know what? Let's just concentrate on the football. Come on, man. Let's win matches. Results don't change. The goalposts don't move. You know what I mean? Let's just win. When we were winning, we weren't bothered about whether teams hated us, and they hated us. Remember when Wenger was there, the man I wanted out towards the end. But do you remember when they always talk about the 70th player that got sent off under Arsene Wenger's management? I took that as a badge because we're winning. And when we start winning again, and I'm going to demand it, we ain't going to give people like Richard Keys a fall, are we?
No, I think the point. I do agree with you as well. I think that we're quite a reactionary fan base. We do nibble, and they know they're going to nibble.
We played the galleries, but you got to remember one thing: social media isn't Arsenal fans. It only covers 1% of our fan base. You go to the Emirates, some of them can't even spell Twitter, let alone hold a computer. They can barely hold a mobile phone.
Some of them can barely spell X, Kenny.
And if you get them typing on the phone, they're like that. So, you know, just remember, it's the winning. Winning's lovely. It's the best.
Yeah, I don't think it's an agenda, but I do think there's something slightly there because, you know, it took someone that wasn't British coming over here and showing people how to do it. And I don't think as a league they liked that. As much as they go on about, we got all these great players and they give Arsene Wenger all the love and everything now, I do think at the time in the 90s, it was very much of this guy's a bit like I don't know if Postecoglou, and I don't want Postecoglou to be as successful as Arsene Wenger was. But it's like him, you know, this guy's coming from Scotland and Japan. Who's he think he is? And he scalps Man United at the weekend because, again, we're talking about he's got a system and a style that's conducive to the players that he's got around him. And he goes into messes and he sorts them out. I had a big argument all summer with certain Arsenal fans, just like, dismiss this guy at your peril because I think he can
can't dismiss him. He's won everything. You know, you can won everything at every club he's gone to. And one thing about it is that how can you disrespect a man that is willing to test himself? He could have stayed at Australia, you know, and gone to Perth Glory, you know, like I said, Brisbane. You know, stayed at Brisbane where he won things, but he wanted to test himself. He went to Japan, wanted to test his own. He went to Scotland. Here's his ambition to, you know, be a coach in Europe. You've got to give the guy respect. And fact is that, you know, one of these days we're going to look at him and think, you know, maybe more Aussie coaches will come through. But I think what's happening is that we're all thinking about Bob Bradley at Swansea, you know, his American accent, and he you know, and we thought, Americans, Aussies, what do they know about football? But, you know, we're England. Let's not forget, we look down at other nations, but let's not forget what we haven't won in 57 years.
Very true. Very true. What about yourself, Ray? What's your stance on this whole, you know, is there an agenda against Arsenal for you?
Like you guys said, I think we've got a very reactionary fan base. So I believe that the media play on that because they know that they can get reactions and clicks and hits and the attention that they want. So in that respect, where we've got such a large fan base, I think that they find it very easy to wind a lot of Arsenal fans up. So, you know, in that respect, I just wouldn't react to it. I wouldn't sort of engage with it. And that's the problem. You have got so many people that do, that it kind of doesn't really do us too many favors. But I do think there is a little bit of a bias. And I remember, I think it was Arsene Wenger's time around probably 2008, 2009. I think we're the first Premier League club to field an all foreign 11. And I can remember that not going down particularly well at the time. So, yeah, like I say, I think there is. But in my opinion, and you guys have mentioned it really well, I'm just not one of those supporters that is just going to sort of get all irate about it. If people don't like how we celebrate, tough. If people, don't like us winning stuff, tough. People don't like us, enjoying ourselves and, living in the moment. And because listen, we're up against an absolute juggernaut in Man City. And I know Kenny mentioned, demanding winning, and I really want to be on that train. But I just see it and I just go that Man City are that good that although I want to win, I'm desperate to win. I don't know if we can because they're just built to dominate. I think we can get close, and I think we have to. I think we've got closer than potentially last season. Obviously, time will tell, but I just think that we have to be absolutely perfect. And that's what sort of last year taught me, is that we can win games, but in reality, we've just got a better Man City week on week, match them all better, if they're winning. So it's difficult. And I've heard you before, Kenny, say about raising standards. And like I say, I really want to be on that train with you, mate. But I just think that Man City are so good, and there are other teams that are also building. But I don't know whether we can. I don't know if we've got the divine right to.
I think you're right. If you look at that Community Shield performance, we were a deflection away from saying that it was a Man City masterclass, and that we're still levels behind Man City, because if you look at the way they played, the way they passed the ball, the way they created chances, they played a little bit better than us. But because we got that deflected goal from Trossard and won on penalties, all of a sudden, like the black and white picture has a bit of colour to it, innit? We get like the felt tip pen, put different colours, green, yellow, red, and everything. But Man City are level spars. But one thing we have to accept is that they were behind us, and then when it came to crunch, we threw it away. We bottled the league, because if you think about it, we were 93% of the time leading that league. You can't deny it. 93% of the season.
No, I can't deny that. I can't deny that.
Yeah, we were scoring more goals. We were the better team in attacking sense. We were better than them defensively. Our results went against us. But where we went wrong is that when you're winning and making mistakes, you've got to eradicate those mistakes, because they'll come out and bite you. Bournemouth at home was a mess. Aston Villa away was a mess. Brentford at home was a mess. But because we avoided defeat, our heads swelled, and what you complaining about? Oh yeah, but we won the game. What are you getting upset about? But we were making those mistakes, even with Saliba in the team, and we never learned from our mistakes. And what happened? We went to Anfield, got a bit cocky, thought we that we're going to start celebrating on their lawn. They got 2 goals back, could have won the game, and then West Ham was a mess. And then look what happened. Southampton, we were in a split. But all the issues started when we were winning games, but we were conceding clear-cut chances. And that's where Arsenal have to learn, because you had Man City, like I said, at arm's length, about 5 points, and we won certain games that could have been 8. Let's not forget. Yeah, they had a game in hand, but before we played Liverpool, we're 8 points ahead of Man City. If you were doing your sort of futuristic calculators towards the end of the season, you would have us winning the league by 2 points. Even then.
Yeah, I hear that, Kenny, but we played Man City 3 times last season and lost all 3, One was a close one in the FA Cup.
But 95, Blackburn, Man United did a double over Blackburn, but Blackburn still won the league by 1 point. It can be done.
Yeah. No, fair enough. Hear it.
Phil puts the comment here: we don't need to beat City to win the league, but we will if we want to win the Champions League. And that I agree with him. But for me, I feel that like, to use the old tennis analogy, I think we got to break serve. I do think mentally beating them in the Community Shield was massive, but I think you need to get a league win against them. You need.
I think it was remember 98 when we won the league in 98, when we won the first double and the Arsene Wenger. We had, like when they were doing like their kind of discussion afterwards. Like Kean was interviewed afterwards. During that, in our season review, and one of the things that Martin Keown said is that we were ready for a win at Old Trafford, and like the phrase "we were ready," we had belief, and I think when we do play Man City, as good as we think we are, we still believe that they're better than us, and 9 out of 10 times they are. The big moments they won, even at the Emirates where we played. I thought we played pretty well. I thought we were very competitive, but the bigger moments, they won them. When there was a bit of confusion between Tomiyasu and Ramsdale, De Bruyne, sees the opportunity. He's lobbing the keeper on his weaker foot from a difficult angle. You know what I mean? That's what Man City had. And even that game in the FA Cup, they weren't that great. But that moment, like I said, they got that goal. And that's the thing. It's those big moments they're still better than us at. They're still mentally better than us at. They know we've got, skillful players who can play good football, but they can also play good football as well. And they also got players who can hurt us. And they know how to beat us. I mean, how many times have they done a double over us? I'm fed up losing to them.
Yeah.
But you're
I
right,
think we all are. I think we all are, Kenny.
Yeah.
But
and I absolutely hear what you say about. Sorry, James. I absolutely hear what you say about the games that we threw away towards the back end of last season. I'm not sitting here saying if we had them run a game but beat Man City home and away, we'd be champions. But I just think that we have to, like you guys said, we have to get a result against them in the league, preferably at home. Can you imagine a home win and then just getting a horrible draw or something for them away at the Etihad? I'd absolutely bite your hand off if you offered me that scenario right now. So I think
it's
Community Shield
away
win.
at Anfield. So sorry to cut in, mate, but Liverpool at Anfield is still. I still think that, despite the fact we beat them last season, a very good game of football where it could have gone either way.
Yeah,
at Anfield, we still have that mental block about playing Liverpool, especially since Jurgen Klopp's come to the. I mean, he's had 2 draws, and after every other result after those 2 draws has been thrashings. They haven't just beaten us; they smacked us, beat us up with ruthlessness.
See, I was one of these supporters, mate, where when we drew at Anfield, I was actually saying that was a good point.
Yeah, because
I know we were 2-0 up, and then we threw it away, but then we could have easily lost. So
yeah, mate, you're right.
I'm considering our record there, but it was the West Ham game and then the Southampton, and then what followed on from that, in my opinion, that really sort of.
Oh, and that's the thing when you're doing you're doing your score predictors on the computer. The BBC Sport score predictors. You kind of looked at all the results and you kind of thought, yeah, we're not going to beat City, and we're not going to beat Liverpool, and we'll probably drop points against Newcastle because of the way that they will be shaping up. But you always thought, despite the fact we might drop points against those teams, we're going to beat West Ham away. We're going to beat Southampton. We're going to give Brighton a bit of a bloody nose because they're a bit awkward when they play us because they press us out. They press us out of the game when they play us at the Emirates. So you would have thought those are the results that we're going to go in our favour. But again, it's one of those things that bad habits, lead to a lot of things. It's like, for instance, you've got something wrong with you internally. If you don't go and see a doctor, it's going to just turn it into a boom. And then the doctor says, I can't do nothing for you, mate. And I think that's what happened with our performances. We celebrated like banshees after Bournemouth. I did as well. I've got bruises to prove it, although they've all gone down now. But I was in pain after Bournemouth. When we got the third goal, that half volley, we were all over the place. I was liking anyone. And I mean anyone.
And that's what's so gutting, mate, is because when them moments happen in a season, you feel like it could be your year. So obviously, when ultimately it didn't work out that way, then it is really, really frustrating.
Yeah, but but when you were on a cold light of day, you're celebrating, and you thought, well, actually, their 2 goals are a bit of a mess, And then you look at the Villa game. Said, oh my God, those 2 goals are a bit of a mess. And then you look at Leeds, where we won 4-1. They could have scored straight from kickoff. We never learned.
Yeah.
And then teams started to work us out. I said, wait on here. If you get Arsenal you know, where, you know, their defenders are going walkies and leaving all that space, and Thomas Partey's not his best. Let's have it. And teams eventually did that against us, but because we never eradicated those mistakes, and that's where the manager's got to earn his money. You know, I know there's a lot of people who've got immense respect for Mick Arteta, but I said to Fiona, who's watching now, and I say it now: you can't be unlucky 3 times. You're unlucky when you didn't get into the top 4. You're unlucky when you went in the league. Are we going to tolerate him being unlucky this season with the amount of money he spent? And if you want to be accumulating and say the amount of money he spent since he's come to football club, you've got to see some sort of result. He's got to be better in those pressure moments. We have to be better.
Yeah. And we have to learn from the pressure moments. We have to learn from him.
He's the man in charge of the whole thing. He has to be better. Remember, he's not the head coach. He's the team manager. So every decision in terms of player acquisition, he is part of. He is making those decisions. He has the final say. You know, as much as we like to cut him a bit of slack and we like to say that, you know, he's this up-and-coming manager, let's not turn away from the fact that he's got a lot of authority in at that football club within not just the team, but around a decision-making. He's got not as much as Arsene Wenger, certainly more than Unai. He's got certainly more respect.
Yeah.
So as ruthless as he is with Tierney, in terms of him not being able to play inverted, and he was ruthless as he was with the players that he got rid of, we've got to turn that ruthless on him if he doesn't deliver. I mean, that's fair, isn't it?
Yeah, no, and
I hear
to make a point as well. You might know this better than me, Kenny, because you got a better memory in terms of I can't remember yesterday, let alone all the old school football games. But in my lifetime of the league wins that I've been very privileged to see, we have beat the champions, like you said, 98. I believe that was the one, wasn't it? David Platt got the header at the home one, and we won.
Exactly.
That.
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
We went up there with the Overmars goal, and then 01-02. Was that the year where Barthez rolled the ball to Henry at home and set that one up, and then away, obviously we had the Wiltord goal, and then the Invincibles. I think we drew with them at home, but we also had the Van Nistelrooy sky and the penalty and the Keown. So to be the champions, you got to beat the champions, haven't you? You know, to quote Ric Flair, to be the man, you got to beat the man, haven't you?
Well, definitely, and definitely. You know, it's as I said, it's only happened once with Blackburn in '95 when Man United did a double over him. But you know, it's one of those things where, you know, it's going to get to a situation. It's not just going to be me demanding success. There's going to be other fans who are going to demand success because we're the third biggest club in the country. I think people tend to forget that, especially our younger fans. You know, they get spoilt, or maybe have like I said. Blind glasses when they look at Man City and Chelsea. They assume that they're bigger than us because of their most recent success. But in terms of the accumulation of trophies over the years, and you know, in terms of our status, there's only 2 clubs that are bigger than us, and that's Man United and Liverpool. It's undoubted. You don't win 20 league championships and you can't be called, you know, anything but the biggest club in the country. You can't win 19 league titles and be called anything but one of the biggest clubs in the countries. And then the European trophies, both from the one, it's a no-brainer that those 2 are the biggest clubs in the country. But then it's us. So one of the things we need to improve on is our European record is an embarrassment. West Ham have won as many European trophies than us. 30 years without a European trophy, 20 years without winning the league, 4 years without winning a trophy. Got to improve.
100%. And just quickly, last question, and then we'll wrap it up. Phil again, he's put here. So who finishes 1 to 4th? He's gone Arsenal to win the league, then City, then Newcastle, then Villa. Ray?
I'll take that.
I've done my top 4 to death, so I won't repeat myself. But what about you? What's your top 4? And don't worry about upsetting people. It's fine.
Well, in any particular order, or just?
Yeah, any particular order. Yeah.
Any particular order? City, Arsenal, Newcastle, and Liverpool.
Fair shout, Kenny.
City, Arsenal, Man United and Liverpool, but not in that
we've-
particular order.
We're all
It could
different.
be. I think Liverpool and Man United will swap third and fourth. I look at Newcastle and I think, I don't know, I just think Liverpool and Man United will be too strong for him still. But one thing about Newcastle, when they win that first trophy,
They won't stop. That's what
won't
happened.
stop.
That's what
That's
happened
a
at
problem.
City. The minute
and
City won,
Chelsea,
Yeah.
I was so glad when they did. As much as I don't like Man United as a child of the '90s, Kenny, when they didn't win that League Cup, I thought, right, breathe a sigh of relief, because they would have just, like we said, they'd have kicked on and kicked on.
Mourinho's first trophy was the League Cup against Liverpool
Exactly.
in 2005.
Exactly.
And obviously Guardiola's first trophy was in 2018 when they beat us in that League Cup final, which was one of the worst performances ever. It was freezing cold. You had chill blames upon chill blames. Your fingers were redundant. Your fingers might have been fish fingers, frozen fish fingers. And then they put on that pile of rubbish. I mean, a white flag performance, I haven't seen many, but that is an example of not being bothered when you go down. Just thinking, I can't be bothered here. We're going to lose anyway. One of the worst performances ever. In fact, Arsene Wenger should have been escorted to his locker to clear his locker after that game.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you. Well, it's been an hour and a half. Absolute pleasure to speak to both of you. Ray, if people want to hear more from you, see more from you, where can they find you? Because I know you do occasionally, you do the shows with Albert and what have you, but where if people do want to see or read what you got to say, where can they go, my friend?
Just on Twitter, mate. Trying to do it. I think I might start some sort of content or channel. It's very sort of early stages, but I'm enjoying just being invited on shows like this one, James. So thank you. If anyone wants to follow me, it's Ray_Cassim on Twitter. I'm quite level-headed, so yeah.
Oh no, you can't be level-headed, mate. Because I don't want to be pulling splinters out your backside, mate. No, none of that, mate.
Listen, my profile picture is me. It's not a picture of bloody Zinchenko or something. So I think that's the start, mate.
And Kenny, obviously, I think everybody that's in the chat follows you already. Like we said, we're 10-year veterans of the game. But if people want to see you and hear you, Kenny, where can they go?
You need to go to Instagram, because at KennyKen1972 Twitter, I think I'm not deluded enough to know that myself has been excluded from the Arsenal fan base because of previous actions and associations for a good friend of mine. That's it. All bets are off. That's, you know what I mean. I'm not deluded enough to realise that. I'm sure people thinking, oh God, it's him and he's that guy's mate. All right, life's funny, but you know what? Instagram, I have people who don't believe I have those kind of scars, and they accept me. So if you want to laugh and a joke, it's Instagram, and it is funny. I comment on football, cricket and boxing, and I do take the absolute mickey out of people, and I love it, especially journalists who write rubbish, footballers who ain't that great. And Simon Jordan, he just gives me so much material. I mean, the man thinks he's a thesaurus. I mean, the guy's from Fulton Heath. I mean, I've been to Fulton Heath. You're not from Oxford. You didn't go to Cambridge. Yeah, you read a few books, mate, but come on, mate. You're just plain old Simon from Fulton Heath. You're a nobody.
I'm going to follow you just for that, mate. To be fair,
I love it. I think if the big wigs are watching, instead of getting old Eddie Hearn versus Simon, I think we need a Kenny versus Simon early in the morning.
I've got a list of what Simon says. For Simon, he's very intense, and sometimes he gets it right, but most of the times he gets it wrong.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, everybody else in the chat. This has been episode 2 of the Arsenal Show, and again, thank you, Ray and Kenny, for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure. But yeah, if you've watched and you've enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you don't already. Take care, and we will see you again soon here on the James Johnson Football Channel.
Hey, guys, thanks. Ray, it's really nice to meet you.